Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parijakacharya Ashtotra Shri Srimad Abhay Charanaravindha His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parijakacharya Ashtotra Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Goti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan Ki Jai. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Nitai Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshva Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. So today we are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 2, text number 9. Shruyatam Brahmarshayo me Shruyatam Brahmarshayo me Sahadeva Sahagnayaha Sahadeva Sahagnayaha Sadhunam Bruvato Vrittam Sadhunam Bruvato Vrittam Najnanana Chamatsarat Najnanana Chamatsarat Shruyatam Brahmarshayo me Sahadeva Sahagnayaha Sadhunam Bruvato Vrittam Najnanana Chamatsarat. Prabhuji. देवाः सहाग्नयः साधूनां ब्रुवतो वृत्तम् Vaishnavis. साधूनां ब्रुवतो वृत्तम् नाज्ञानान् च मत्सरात् श्रूयतां ब्रह्मर्षयो मे सह देवा सहाग्नयः साधूनां ब्रुवतो वृत्तम् नाज्ञानान् च मत्सरात्. Word to word meaning. Shruyatam. Hear. Brahma Rishayaha. O sages among the Brahmanas. May unto me. Sahadevaha. O demigods. Saha Agnayaha. O fire gods. Sadhunam. Of the gentle. Bruvataha. Speaking. Vrittam. The manners. Na. Not. Ajnanat. From ignorance. Na cha. And not. Matsarat. From envy. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. All sages, brahmanas and fire gods present, please hear me with attention, for I speak about the manners of gentle persons. I do not speak out of ignorance or envy. Please repeat. All sages, brahmanas, and fire gods present, please hear me with attention, for I speak about the manners of gentle persons. I do not speak out of ignorance or envy. Translation, please hear. In speaking against Lord Shiva, Daksha tried to pacify the assembly by presenting in a very tactful way that he was going to speak about the manners of gently persons, although naturally this might affect some unmannerly upstarts, and the assembly might be unhappy because they did not want even unmannerly persons to be offended. In other words, he was in complete knowledge that he was speaking against Lord Shiva, in spite of Shiva's spotless character. As far as envy is concerned, from the very beginning, he was envious of Lord Shiva. Therefore, he could not distinguish his own particular envy. Although he spoke like a man in ignorance, he wanted to cover his statements by saying that he was not speaking for impudent and envious reasons. Jai. Bhaktivedanta Swami Purports ki Jai. Let's do Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhuter Mahadbir Yayima Puro Vibhu Nirmaya Shethe Yadamoshu Purusha Bhunkter Gunamsho Dashasho Dasatmaka Solang Krishishta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me Shri Krishna Sharanam Sharanagatam Katha Amritam Satatapibatam Bhakti Vedanta Marga Panktanam Sarvalokarishi Deva Janna Prasannam Sarvalokarishi Deva Janna Prasannam. Hare Krishna. Welcome again everyone to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. So at the beginning of the Bhagavatam class, the prayer which I just chanted, Bhuter Mahadbi, there we are taking the blessings of Lord Vishnu or the Supreme Lord so that he can decorate the statements of my words. So the mood is that I'm not speaking, I'm not talking anything from my head, from my mind, but I'm simply bowing down to Krishna, taking his blessings so that the Lord can use us as an instrument and he can decorate the words that we are speaking. So with that mode, let us look at this verse from Canto 4, where the pastime of Daksha Prajapati is unfolding. So it's going to be a very dramatic pastime as we, keep reading in the next few chapters. So we've been hearing the conversation between Maitreya Muni and Vidura. And Vidura, on hearing that Lord Shiva, who is the son-in-law of Daksha, was insulted, and that Daksha Prajapati, he was so envious of Lord Shiva, Vidura is asking Maitreya Muni, how is it possible that Lord Shiva, who is such an exalted personality, whose character is spotless, who is Nirvairam, we saw in the verses before. He has no enmity. He is Shanta Vigraham, who is always peaceful, who is, what else did we see a couple of days back? He is Atmaramam. He is always self-satisfied. So such a Lord Shiva, who is such an exalted personality, how is it that Daksha was so inimical towards him? So in response to this question, Maitreya Muni begins to narrate the pastime. Why all this happened? Why this enmity? Why this envy? Why, all these negative feelings that Daksha was having? So So Maitreya Muni begins to narrate the pastime, and he says that once Daksha and all the Prajapatis, they all gathered together to perform a great sacrifice. And in this sacrifice, they had invited all the demigods, the philosophers, the sages, and all the fire gods. Everyone was present. And as Daksha walked in, his bodily luster was so effulgent that he was just shining so brilliantly. And as he was shining so brilliantly, all the demigods and everyone who was sitting there, even they looked very insignificant. And Daksha, with this, very powerful personality that he was, and as he walked in, now he expected some respect from everyone. So he thought like he is the greatest person there. I'm walking into this assembly. So he had that false ego pop up in his head. And as he was walking in, Lord Brahma, he offered him a seat and he made him sit down. So then Daksha sat. And everyone got up in the assembly as soon as they saw Daksha. But then Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, who are the greatest of demigods, they are none other than the expansions of Shri Krishna. So they did not get up. They were sitting, also because Daksha thought that Lord Shiva is my son-in-law. So he is supposed to show me respect. But then Lord Shiva, even though he is in the position of a son-in-law here, who is he? He is the Supreme Lord himself, who is in charge of the annihilation of the material creation. But apart from all this, it is not like Lord Shiva is thinking about all this, oh, Daksha is here, oh, I have to get up, oh, I have to sit down. Lord Shiva is immersed in the meditation of the Supreme Lord all the time. He is constantly remembering the Lord in his heart, and he is chanting his glories. So Lord Shiva was just sitting. And Daksha, on seeing this, he gets a bit puffed up. And there, now he is saying, before taking his seat, Daksha was very much offended to see Lord Shiva sitting and not showing him any respect. And at that time, Daksha became greatly angry, and his eyes glowing, he began to speak very strongly against Lord Shiva. And this is the first statement that Daksha is saying. What is he saying? All sages, brahmanas and fire gods present, please hear me with attention, for I speak about the manners of gently persons. I do not speak out of ignorance or envy. So, even though that is what his
inner intention is. He is envious of Lord Shiva. He is speaking out of his ignorance. But simply to cover up his position and to just protect himself, he's saying that, oh, everyone, please hear from me. I'm not talking out of ignorance. I'm just saying what good-mannered persons will do. So like a sugar-coated pill, he's trying to cover his own statements. So in this verse, what we are seeing is the envy of Daksha that is popping up. Yeah. So in today's class, we'll try to reflect on this quality of envy, how it can impede us on our path of bhakti. Because envy is the root cause of almost all suffering, all misunderstandings, all negativities. So how does envy come about? Now we've heard from previous acharyas, they say that in simple words, when someone wants something, they have an intense desire to get something, and they are greedy, or more than greedy, they are just intensely wanting something. Now, spiritual desire is something different. There we can be as greedy as we can because we want to satisfy the senses of Krishna. So there we have to intensely desire, we have to be intensely greedy to serve Shishi Radha Gopinath. But when it comes to other material desires, let's say for our own egoistic pleasures. So when there is an intense desire, and when one's desire is satisfied, then one becomes proud. Oh, I've got this. Yes, I was desiring for this, I got it. Yes, I have everything that I wanted. So from intense desire and greed comes pride. Now, supposing a person doesn't get what one is desiring, then what happens? A person becomes angry. So that is, it leads to anger. Why am I not getting this? I want it, I want it, I want it. I remember Gokuleshwar Prabhuji, when he was here, he always gives this example of a little child crying for a chocolate. When the child very intensely wants a chocolate, and then the child is crying. Now when the child gets the chocolate, the child will be like, yeah, I got it. Then he becomes so proud. But when he doesn't get it, he's crying and angry and stamping his feet and saying, I want that chocolate. Now, if the child gets it, he's happy. Now, if another child gets the chocolate, then what happens? Oh, that person got it. I got this chocolate, but that person got that chocolate. So then what happens? Slowly, jealousy and envy creeps in. So slowly we are seeing how these negative qualities are progressing from intense desire, greed, to anger, to pride, to envy. And then finally it all leads to madness, illusion, and all the other anarthas. So we'll try to reflect on seeing some pastimes where how the Supreme Lord, he controls or he subdues the enemy, the envy of his devotees. And also, how is it in the Vaikuntha planets? How is it in the spiritual world? So one of the most important qualities of the spiritual world is there is completely no envy at all. So there is complete absence of envy in the spiritual world. Because there everything is on the absolute platform. And everyone simply wants to please the senses of Krishna. Everyone wants to serve Krishna with love and devotion. And everyone thinks that I am not good, but this other person is good. So let him or her serve Krishna, not me. So that is the mood of the spiritual world. Now we can understand this in different ways. Now one is to think that, oh, always someone else is better than me, so let them serve. Now there may be times when, let's say, there is a service and that has to be done. And we know for sure that, say for example, nobody is there to step in to do a seva. Then at that moment, we are not going to, contemplate too much, but we have to act according to the situation. Okay, there's a service, I have to step in, I have to do this, otherwise it's going to become difficult for others, so let me step in quickly. So there we are taking an action immediately to please Krishna. But on the other hand, the general, the beautiful mood of service is that let others always serve Krishna. So it is said in the Vaikuntha planets, when the bee starts humming and glorifying the Lord, all the birds, they become silent. The chakravaka, the cuckoo, and all the other beautiful birds who can sing so beautifully, they become quiet. Now, what is it in comparison to the humming of the bee and the beautiful singing of the cuckoo or the chakravaka? How does the bee just hum? Now, is that, the buzzing of the bee, is that anywhere equal to what a cuckoo can beautifully sing? But yet, the cuckoo and the chakravaka and all the other birds, they realize that this bee is humming the glories of Krishna. So let him glorify. Let him glorify and I will hear. So that is what the birds are feeling. And then all the plants and the flowers, the fragrant flowers like champaka, mandara, and there are so many, all the beautiful flowers that are so fragrant. What do they feel? Oh, I am not qualified, but Tulsi Maharani, who is so dear to Krishna and who Krishna wears as his beautiful garland made out of tulsi leaves. So Tulsi is more dear to Krishna. So this is what all the fragrant flowers are thinking. Even though they are so fragrant, and they can think, oh, I am more fragrant than, what is this? This is just a simple leaf. But then the flowers are thinking, oh, no. Tulsi is more dear to Krishna. So that is the mood in the spiritual world. And that is the mood of Srimati Radharani. That is the mood of our Gaudiya Parampara. That is the mood that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving us, that let others glorify, let others serve Krishna, and let me become a servant of them to please Krishna. And that is what we heard even a few days before from Archita Prabhuji, when he was saying that when we preach, we don't think that I am the preacher, I am speaking the glories of Krishna. But instead, we take the humble mood that we are simply helping Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada doesn't even need any help from us. We are insignificant. If we are not there, the whole world is there to serve him. So it is not like I am important in serving Srila Prabhupada, but I'm taking the humble mood so that I can become a little instrument in his service for the whole of humanity, in spreading love for Krishna. So, we hear in Srimad Bhagavatam, Tava Katamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibhiriditam Kalmashapaham Shravana Mangalam Srimadaadatam Bhuvi Grinanti Ye Bhurida Jana. So those who spread the glories of Krishna, they are so fortunate, and all glories to them who can spread the glories of Krishna. So essentially, the mood of the spiritual world is without any envy or jealousy. Now, for us to learn these lessons, Shri Krishna demonstrates beautiful pastimes for us. So, in his earthly pastime, we hear the beautiful pastime of Kaliya the snake. So, we all know that when Kaliya, when he was in the Yamuna river inside a lake, he had built a whole big castle for himself because he was so proud of his strength. He was the greatest of all the snakes, and he was so poisonous that the whole Yamuna river was filled with poison. It was boiling, it was all heated up, and he had built a castle around him, and no one could enter. Now, when the Brajavasis heard this, they would come, they would drink the water, and some of them would just die. The cows were dying. So, on seeing all this, what did Krishna decide? Okay, I have to teach Kaliya a lesson. So, what happens one day? Krishna, he climbs on the Kadamba tree and he looks into the Yamuna river. Where is Kaliya? Let me go and find him. So he ties his belt around his waist, he makes a nice big knot, then he slaps his shoulders, and like a big brave boy, he jumps into Yamuna and he starts swimming. And he starts to and it is said that when Krishna jumped into the water of Yamuna, it was like a big lordly elephant. So he was just happily jumping into the water and he started swimming. Now, as soon as Kaliya heard the sounds of the waters moving, he knew somebody is here into this water. Who is it? And immediately he starts looking. And he starts to, Kaliya begins his actions as well. He begins to move around. And for a moment, when he sees Krishna, he's just astounded by the beauty of Krishna. Krishna is wearing beautiful yellow shining garments, and his feet are like lotus, like that. Then there is Srivatsa on his chest. He's wearing the Kaustuba gem. He's smiling beautifully, and he is colored like the cloud. And and with his beautiful face, he is smiling and he's swimming. Just taking this darshan of Krishna, Kaliya becomes envious. And out of his envy and jealousy, what does he do? He goes to attack Krishna. So then he goes and he bites on the chest of Krishna. And as soon as this happens, all the gopis, the gopas, everyone, they just faint and they fall down. They can't bear to see that Kaliya the snake is attacking Krishna. But who is Krishna? He's the Supreme Lord. So he immediately, he starts, at one point, Kaliya just envelops him into his coils. And then for a moment, Krishna is enjoying this Leela. And then immediately he comes out of it, and then he starts dancing around. He starts spinning around Kaliya. And then he takes Kaliya and he starts spinning him around. And then as Kaliya's heads, they keep coming up, Krishna now begins to dance on his hoods. So it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna, he took the head of Kaliya and made him bow down. So our acharyas explain that sometimes even we are puffed up with our pride, with envy, with our ego. And at those times, Krishna forcefully makes us bow down. Because let's remember that it is also out of our envy, by some reason, we have come into this spiritual world. And here we are going through all these sufferings, one after the other, through many, many lifetimes. But then by the mercy of a Vaishnava, of a great devotee, who is nurturing the seed of the devotional service in our heart, when we take to the path of bhakti and when we try to serve devotees sincerely from our heart, then it is like Krishna is dancing on our head as well. So we can realize that whenever we are coming and we are bowing in front of Krishna, we can think that Krishna is dancing on my head. Krishna is putting his lotus feet on my head. He is making me bow down to him. He is making me bow down to Vaishnavas. So like that, when Kaliya's hoods were coming up, Krishna danced on this unsteady surface, it is said, because one hood would come up, Krishna will put his foot there. And then another hood will come up, and then Krishna will put his foot there. So like this, Krishna was dancing so beautifully. And in the purports, our acharyas explained that at this time, Krishna was also showing his artistic skill of dancing. Why? Because all the gopis were watching him. And the gopis were falling in love with Krishna. So Krishna also wanted to dance beautifully, and like he was showing his beautiful skill of dancing. Now here we should not think that, oh, Krishna is proud. No, it's not, like that. Krishna enjoys all the rasas. All the feelings that we have, it comes from Krishna. He is Rasa Raj. He is the king of all the rasas. So when Krishna wants to have an intimate pastime with the gopis, it can happen even when he is dancing on the head of Kaliya. So then what happens? After dancing, then Kaliya the snake, he bows down. He realizes his mistake. And then Krishna forgives him. And at this time also, because the wives of Kaliya, the Nagapatnis, they come and they offer prayers. And they tell Krishna, oh Krishna, our husband, out of his ignorance, out of his envy, he behaved like this. Please forgive him and let him go. So on hearing this prayer from the Nagapatnis, Krishna, because he wanted to favor the Nagapatnis, who were also his devotees, instead of just killing Kaliya, he just sends him away. He says, go away, don't disturb Yamuna anymore, go away to another place and stay there, but be in your position. So like this, there are so many pastimes that Krishna demonstrates to teach us the lesson of how to get past this feeling of envy, jealousy, and all these negative emotions, which is what we are seeing here that Daksha is portraying against Lord Shiva. So in another pastime, we also see Lord Brahma, once who is the creator. Yet, at one time, he wanted to test the power of Krishna. So what happened in the Brahma Vimohan Leela? So when Krishna one day, he called all his friends and he said, Aho tiramyam pulinam vayasya swakeli sampan mridula cha balukam sputhat saroganda hritali patrika Dvani pratidvanaladrumakulam. He called his friends and he said, here on this bank of the Yamuna, where the sand is so soft, the trees are so, they're all beautiful, there's cooling breeze, the bees are all humming, there are beautiful flowers. Let us have a lunch here. And as Krishna and his Gopa friends, they start having lunch there. Then Brahma thinks, who is this little boy? I am the creator. Is this little boy really Krishna? He wanted to test. And at that time, what did he do? As the cows went grazing, Brahma went and he stole all the cows and the calves. And then Krishna went looking for all the cows and the calves. And at that time, the boys, Brahma put them into a mystic sleep. And then what happened? Krishna realized, okay, this is the trick of Brahma. And so what did he do? He expanded himself into that many cows and cowherd boys, and he went into Vraja. And all the Gopa, the elderly gopis, they felt that so much love for their kids because it was Krishna himself who had multiplied into so many Gopas. And they were serving their children with so much love and affection. And like this, 1 year passed. And for Brahma, it was just one kshana, one moment like that. So as soon as he came back and he saw what happened to all the boys, I had put them to sleep, but they're not here. And then he realized later on when he sees little Krishna, and then when he realizes that, it was my mistake. I was trying to test the power of Krishna. And then at that time, Krishna says, I just wanted to show you, what is my position. And then even Lord Brahma realized, okay, I'm just a servant of Krishna. I'm not this is Krishna, this little boy who is doing all these playful activities on the earth. This is the Supreme Lord Krishna himself. So like that, through all these different pastimes, Krishna teaches us about the negative qualities within us that we have to try and surpass, try and grow beyond them. So these verses are an inspiration for us. So when we read that, Daksha, so what does Srila Prabhupada say? That as far as envy is concerned, from the very beginning, he was envious of Lord Shiva. So Daksha was always envious of Lord Shiva. And therefore, he could not distinguish his own particular envy. And although he spoke like a man in ignorance, he wanted to cover his statements by saying that he was not speaking for impudent and envious reasons. So what a contrast is this between Daksha And the verse that we initially chanted, Bhutair Mahadbir Yaima Puro Vibhu, there it is actually Shukadev Goswami. And he, before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam shlokas, he is saying, may the Supreme Lord decorate my statements. And here we are seeing Daksha trying to cover his own statements through his own ignorance and envy. So these are all the beautiful, subtle points that we can observe in Srimad Bhagavatam, that we can learn. Now, for us to get past all this, we can understand, okay, there is envy, there is, I have these negative feelings, I have pride, I have anger, I have, so many different anarthas. But for us to get past all this on our own, it is not possible. So it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a beautiful verse. Vijita rishi kavayu biradanta manasturagam Yai hayatanti yantu mati lolamupaya kidaha Vyasana shatan vita samavahaya guroshcharanam Vanija ivaja santya krita karnadara jaladau. So in this verse, the mind is like an impetuous horse that even persons who have regulated their senses and breath cannot control. Those in this world who try to tame the uncontrolled mind, but who abandon the feet of their spiritual master, encounter hundreds of obstacles in their cultivation of various distressful practices. O unborn Lord, they are like merchants on a boat in the ocean who have failed to employ a helmsman. So from this we can see that our mind is like an impetuous horse. It goes here and there. So we see, isn't it, in the chariot, the comparison of the chariot with the human body, where the horses are like the senses and the horses are like the sense objects and the reins are like the senses. And then our mind is like the, who's the mind? The soul is the passenger, and the mind, with our intelligence, we have to control the mind and pull the senses. And who can help us do that? Rishi Kesha, the master of the senses, the Supreme Lord. But before we even go to Rishikesha, we need the help of our spiritual master. So that is what this verse is saying, that on our own we cannot tame our mind. We cannot try to tame our envious nature. But only by taking the guidance of our spiritual master, by taking the shelter of the lotus feet of our Guru, can we get past these qualities. So just like how when someone might be on a boat and they are trying to cross over on the ocean, but if someone doesn't even know how to swim, and then if there are so many waves on the water, what will happen? The boat might turn and we might just fall into the ocean and we don't even know how to swim. But at the same time, when there's a helmsman, it is a person who can row the boat and take you carefully across the ocean to the other side. So our spiritual master, our Guru, is the shining light of Sri Krishna. As Chaitya Guru in our heart, he guides us. As our Guru outside through our spiritual master, through Srila Prabhupada. When we take their guidance, their blessings, then our life can be smooth and easy on the path to Shishi Radha Gopinath's lotus feet. So on that note, let us chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada, for the pleasure of all our Shiksha Gurus, for the pleasure of our Gurudev, for the pleasure of Shishi Radha Gopinath, and always try to imbibe a humble mode of service at their lotus feet. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Any questions? Yes, Mataji. Yes. Okay, so for the benefit of everyone, Mataji is asking a question that let's say if someone else is envious of us and we know that, constantly troubling us, and we know that somebody is envious, and if we know that, what should we do? What should be our response? Should we take it as a mercy of the Lord? What should we do? So what I feel from what I've heard from all our acharyas in such a situation, it is best to ignore. Just let it go. Each one is on their own journey to Krishna. So let that person learn through his or her own experiences, and let us not be affected by that. My spiritual journey continues. I am on the journey to Krishna. I have the association of devotees. I am serving devotees. The other person is envious. Yes, I know that. It's okay. I will be merciful. So you become an instrument of mercy of Krishna. Yes, we will see in the pastime that even though Lord Shiva reacts, and then there's a whole, more than Lord Shiva, it is actually the followers of Lord Shiva who react. And then they all start cursing, counter-cursing. While Lord Shiva is sitting peacefully, and then he just walks away from that sacrificial arena. So he doesn't respond. While all this happens, then finally later on it all gets resolved. So this is a very common thing, because we can always feel it, whether it could be within the devotees or it could be in the material world, where we are working, where there are so many other professionals, and we can feel it in our day-to-day life, somebody being envious. But one thing that we can realize is that Krishna has a plan for everyone, and no one can touch that. So if Krishna has a plan for me, that will happen no matter what. Whether somebody is envious of me or not, whether someone tries to put obstacles, whether someone tries to, take me away from the path, or someone tries to, trample, no matter what happens, Krishna's plan for me will always work. That is the sweetest and the highest and the best plan for me. So when we have that surrender to Krishna, then no matter what others are doing, it will not disturb us. Let them do whatever they want to do. They will learn their own lessons. But I have to be steady on my path. So when we have that conviction, then Krishna also reciprocates with us in that way. Because Krishna knows, oh my God, this devotee is holding on to my feet. She or he is not going to let go of my lotus feet. So I rather, we know from the Damodar pastime how Krishna comes under the control of the love of his devotees. So that way it's like we are not trying to control Krishna, but we are surrendering to his plan. So when we surrender to his plan in our heart, and when we know that Krishna has the best for me, then Krishna will send the right devotees into our lives. So even though there are envious persons, even though there are other challenges, Krishna will protect us personally. So it is said, Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasa Sharanam Suhrit Prabhava Pralayasthanam Nidanam Bijam Avyayam. So Krishna as our ultimate goal, as our best friend, as our shelter, as our dearmost protector, he will give a shield around us. He will give us that protection through his dear devotees. Because how do we get protection? It's not like there's just suddenly going to be a big wall around us. But Krishna sends his dear devotees who can love and care for us. So when that nurturing love from Krishna comes to us, then all this envy, anger, other things that are going in the other lane, we will ignore them. It's like when we are driving on the road, there are 4 lanes on M5 and 3 lanes at least. When you're driving and then there's another car that is just racing so fast next to you. And sometimes, they won't even indicate, they will try to come in front of you. And at that time, if we try to respond, what will we do? Oh, how can he come in front of me? Let me go faster. You will go and crash. But if we feel, all right, he wants to go fast, let him go. I'm on my journey. I will get to North Sydney on time. Just go peacefully. Somehow we will reach. So, or rather we will reach well in time. Okay? Jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna.